guys. We are back with another episode of Trigger Warning. I am your host, Titi Torrez.
I'm her co-host, Kim Osorio, better known as Kim O.
And we are here on a new set at Bronx Net.
It feels crazy to me.
Why?
It feels like every time I come to the Bronx, it's like this significant sort of, I don't know, weird feeling that I get. I always feel like there's some strong energy around me when I come here.
Because it's home.
It is home. It's very much home for me. But I have this, like, you know, it made me who I am, being from the Bronx. But a lot of stuff happened to me here in the Bronx. A lot of stuff. And it built my character.
Yeah.
So I almost feel I'm grateful to be here. Because for those of you that don't know, we are at Bronx Net today.
Yes,
we are at Bronx Net.
I said that earlier. We're on a new set, Bronx Net, where the lighting is beautiful and it's going to show all our imperfections, every wrinkle.
That's what you're thinking about?
I'm thinking of every possible thing.
That's what you're thinking about? Right. You're like, this is different because I can see myself and oh my God.
And then they have these beautiful monitors in front of us. And whenever I do TV, here's a little secret.
Tidbit.
I hate to see myself on the monitors. Once I do the once check, whether I'm on like big network TV or, you know, local TV or whatever, once I do that one look over and the makeup artists come in and they touch and do the hair or whatever, I don't like to look at myself.
It's crazy because this is making me feel like, are you like obsessed with yourself? I love looking at myself. Like I'm not looking at it right now, but I want to see. Like I feel like if I see myself, I can correct the imperfections by just hitting a different angle. Like that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I am the person that on a Zoom call is not looking at you. I'm looking at myself. So I can hear you when you're talking, but when I'm on these Zooms, do not think for 1 second I'm focused on you. I'm focused on the way that I look. That's bad, but I don't know. It's like a thing. And as I get older, I'm so obsessed with how I look on camera, how I look in pictures. I'm trying to savor that girl from the Bronx that I think, I was not as confident in my looks as coming up, but I feel like now when I look back, I'm like, you were so cute.
Yeah.
You were so, it's like the youth or something. I'm just like.
Are you having a difficult time with aging?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Why? Because the alternative is not good.
It's not. Yeah, the alternative is definitely. I'm sorry, God. God, please.
But you know,
I'm very thankful for being blessed with this life.
That's a real thing, though. Some women do have a difficult time aging, particularly women in our industry, because ageism in the music industry is a very
It's a real thing. They will phase you out.
Yeah.
They will phase you out and replace you. That's why it's all about the wisdom that we share. Yeah. And I feel like that's why trigger warning is so important, because it's us bringing our wealth of wisdom and experience, and because that's about the only wealth I got right now. Yeah. Right? Like, I look at this industry and everything that's happening, I'm like, whoa. You know, people are struggling out here. And I think we'll get to that later. I don't want to jump ahead just because I feel like looking at myself now as I age, I can see it. I can see it.
You can see your physical appearance aging.
I could
Your
see
body's changing. Your hormones are changing.
Is changing.
So how do you embrace it? Because, you know, I'm not too far behind you.
I wanna sit up here and like, all the women that I know that are, older than me, they're like giving me this positive sort of like, come to our side, like it gets better later, it's greater later. I'm like, like I don't.
That's what they say.
There's a freedom to aging.
And what freedom is that?
I think you kind of come into just being comfortable with who you are, what you do, right? Like, no one really can tell me anything. Like, I'm like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to my professional, just like my working and all of that. I can't even speak. I'm like, how do you speak? I'm trying to speak a little bit more proper today.
Because you're at Bronx Net?
Yeah, I'm at Bronx Net. to my Bronx people, I want to show you how proper I am. But like, I feel like, you know, my career, I'm comfortable in that, right?
Mentally, you're like more mature, but
Clarity.
physically, more, oh, good. Clarity. But physically, your body feels, because I know for me, like my right knee now is like not as good as it used to be. And now I'm dealing with a right shoulder issue. So I feel
Right.
like you're in your upper 40s, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I feel
That
like
works today.
I feel like, you know, you're probably at that stage where, like, when you wake up in the morning, it's probably like creaks.
You know
and,
what?
like,
It's not.
not?
It's not. But I would say about 10 years ago, right? Oh God, don't do the math. But when I was getting into my 40s, I got plantar fasciitis. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a condition in your feet where like you have to stretch them out. But I don't think it was just aging. I just feel like aging was a factor in it. And like I had to stretch my feet. Like I could, it hurt when
It was cramping?
it's like this weird feeling of like, almost like the ligaments in your feet are breaking or something.
Wow.
So when you get up in the morning, if you don't do these exercises, I don't have to do it anymore. I don't know what I did. I started like working out different. I don't know. But when I was getting out of bed, I would step on the floor and it would be like painful, right? Like something was happening in like almost right by your heel. And I was like, oh my God, it's over. It's downhill from here. Yeah. But I think a lot of people get it. I think it also has to do with weight, if you gain weight or had gained weight at that time. So there's a lot of things. I think as I age, I'm kind of grateful for my health because I do feel good. I am able to, I do Zumba 4 times a week and I love it.
That's good.
I love it.
Have you hit menopause?
We're just going to go right there. We're just going to go right there,
I'm
huh,
just
Titi?
curious.
I have not,
Okay.
but I am expecting it to come. My mom actually hit menopause later, and I've been very regular, let's just say. But menopause isn't something that you're prepared for. It just kind of happens, and you're like, what's happening to me?
Yeah.
Why am I forgetful? I have brain fog, like little signs here and there. And so I haven't hit it, but I would say I'm in perimenopause, which I feel like is the, you know, they say for menopause you have to be 1 year free of your menstrual cycle, right? Like once you've gone 1 year without getting it, then that means you're in menopause. But before that, some women, they're skipping. Other women, like maybe it's getting heavier. So I think everybody's body is different. But in peri, you're just experiencing this like hormonal change in you. So certain things make me really irritable, right?
Yeah. Like snapping, hot flashes, things of that nature.
I definitely don't have any hot flashes. Oh, I'm hot here. No, I'm kidding. But you know, like I haven't come into it like that. But I have a lot of friends who tell me what to expect.
Are you still sexually stimulated?
Yes.
I'm just curious because, like, one of my closest mentors, she's
Gosh, we're getting
in
personal.
her late 50s, and she says that she experiences, like, dry vaginal areas. And I'm like, dear God, like, I hope, like, that never happens to me. Like, I just love intercourse so much. I just cannot imagine just having a dry vajayjay. You know, like that would just crush me out of all things.
Well, I ain't never been
you know?
dry. So I
But they say that's a thing. Like, my older mentors say that, like, that's a thing. But you're not there yet.
I have some slippery friends then because they ain't told me anything like that. But they, you know, they tell me other things, and I'm not there, thankfully. But I feel like there are different just signs of like, I know it's perimenopause. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's coming at some point.
Yeah.
And some women really go into it a lot earlier, right? And
Yeah,
I never
they say, I want to say 43, you start to kind of make the turn. I was reading something online that says like 43, 44-ish.
Wow.
Which in my opinion is still very young.
Wow. Yeah, that is
But-
young to me.
Yeah.
I wish I was 43, 44. So I wanted to tell you, on my way here, I passed that place, Bistro, that you did that event last year at.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I want to go back there. But what was that event?
Oh,
'Cause
I
everyone,
did.
it's that spot seems to be popping. Like they got all these social media videos. I'm like,
Oh,
okay, the
yeah,
Bronx, the
no.
Sobro is really stepping it up.
Yeah, no, that place is amazing. I did a young women's empowerment dinner there for young girls from under-resourced communities for Thanksgiving.
Love that.
And so we actually had Dream Doll there as like a special guest.
Dream.
Then we had some artists that did some
Right.
performing, and we had a DJ, and we girls were able to walk the red carpet. We did their hair, their makeup, we outfitted them, and then they got to just enjoy a night of dinner at Bistro. It was really nice.
You see that? I love that you're doing that, and I love that you're doing it in the Bronx.
Yeah.
So I want to do more stuff like that.
I do have something else coming up. My multimedia and music and leadership conference.
Yes,
It's coming
I saw
up.
that.
Yeah, October 26th.
Okay.
At Lehman College here in the Bronx. It's free, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's for girls from under-resourced communities. They can go to the Eventbrite page. It's Go Get Her NY on Eventbrite, and also you can follow me on socials, TT Torrez. It's a free event. You just need to register yourself for whatever curriculum you want to take. So we got innovation in music and multimedia. We got self-love in healing and leadership. We have such we have keynote speakers. We have the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson, who's stopping by. It's free lunch, free hair, makeup, make me over beauty. Truck will be there, making girls over, talking about beauty from the inside out. So it's a great day in the Bronx, and of course it's at Lehman College. You know, I went to college at Metropolitan College of New York, which is right across the way.
Really?
I didn't go to the Bronx campus. I actually went to the Manhattan campus, but I got my degree in business management. Summa cum laude.
You saw that plug?
You know what I'm saying? But
Go to
it's
school, ladies.
so you know, like it's for girls
Yeah.
who want to get into this business, but get into leadership and understanding what it is, because it's a tough business.
It is.
And I think, you know, coming in, you know, at the time that I came in, there wasn't a lot of women, and you can attest to this, sitting at those top executive
Positions,
seats
yeah.
in those positions. And social media nowadays make it seem like it's so easy to do, and everybody can do it, and everybody can get in, and it's this false sense of reality. So what I really wanted to do is teach girls what I've never been taught. You know
Right.
what I mean? Give them opportunity that I never had.
Right.
And so, again, it's at Lehman College, October 26th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., free lunch, free breakfast. We have people coming in to teach these classes.
I love that.
So, yeah, it's a day full of
Well, I'm coming
fun.
to support you.
Yes,
I
please.
will be there.
You want
I
to
will
talk?
be
You
there.
want to be one of my speakers?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course for you, TT. I think it's, you know, I do a lot of that in the
Yeah.
community. Like I go places, but I really want to start structuring it because
Yeah.
I feel like it's so important and it's part of like my purpose.
Yeah.
Especially now at this age. So I want to make sure people understand the difference between women who are in positions like ourselves who are actually coming to share that knowledge. Like I've never been the type of professional to kind of hoard my success or hoard like, oh, this is mine. Like, and I feel like there's a lot of that out there. Like, I feel like sometimes it can get very competitive or people feel like, you know, they don't want to let go of their spot, right? When you're doing something like what you're doing, especially in the Bronx, it needs to be celebrated, rewarded, supported. We need to, you know, we just need to kind of chip in and
you
be
know-
more supportive.
You know what it is? I look at it like once you get to a certain point in your life, it's not so much about you anymore, right? Because I really honestly, truly believe you reach your highest potential when you're serving others. And like, you know, a lot of these positions that we get, you know, obviously come from hard work, mastering your craft, dedication, a lot of sacrifice. But a lot of times they're temporary positions because you don't own those seats,
Right.
you know, and they're fluent. You know, you could be there today, gone tomorrow.
tomorrow,
The music industry is a
100%.
very volatile business. And so it's like, you know, if you have the knowledge and you have the wisdom and you have the experience, it's your obligation, really, in my opinion, to be a resource for somebody else.
Right.
And that's kind of what my foundation really is all about. You know, like I grew up in a very, very poverty-stricken home, and I'm going to be talking a lot about it in my book when I'm working on the finishing touches on it. But you know, I am surprised. I know that I'm blessed, but like I'm surprised to be where I'm at because I should have been if you know, I didn't have this sense of like this will to succeed. I could have went in a very different direction. And so like I know that I'm here because of a higher power and I'm here because I'm blessed. And so I have to be this vehicle for others.
Right.
And I have to give them resources and opportunity because what separates someone from, you know, sometimes from reaching their highest potential is really about opportunity and resources.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like you go to the ghettos and you're like, well, what's different from here compared to what this person may have? It's just really resources and opportunity. Not because that person isn't capable or isn't smart enough. It's really because maybe this person was part of a system that was not designed or set up for them to succeed. So they didn't have the proper opportunity and resources. So I think, you know, as we get older and as we understand life and we have life experience, you start to get in tune with what your sole purpose is. And for me, again, it's about serving others fundamentally.
And you grew up right around here, right? You were
Well,
close to here?
so I lived, my early ages in life, I lived in Hunts Point.
Right.
My mother and my father, it's an interesting story. They met in a building that they were living in at the time. My father's Puerto Rican, my mother is black. They lived in the same project building, and he lived on one floor, she lived on another. Boom, they ended up creating me. It's a lot in between, which I'll spell out more in my book, and Hunts Point. And so I remember like maybe up until about 4 of the early ages of my life having a close relationship with my father, but I
Right.
also remember him drinking a lot and being an alcoholic. But at that age, you don't really put 2 and 2 together. Like you don't really know. You know, you see, but you know you love that person, so you don't see their imperfections
course,
that
yeah.
young. And so I remember my mom just moving us, like
Right.
we're moving us, and then we just ended up going down south to South Carolina.
Wow.
And that's where I lived with my aunt and my families, and that's where I remember like the real struggles began for me, and abuse and things of that nature, which I get into in the book.
Right.
And so when I came back, I lived on 156 in Grand Concourse.
Okay.
And so I remember, like, you know, taking a D train. And this early on in my career, I worked at this company called Music Choice and taking a D train into the city every day and then going and
You
do
worked at
radio.
Music Choice?
Yes.
That's so funny. I remember. Is Music Choice still around?
I think so.
Oh, because I remember just, you know, being around
Yeah.
or going to interviews at Music Choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I worked there early on in my career, and then I was taking the China bus from downtown,
bus.
the
Not the
China
China
bus to
bus,
Philly
right,
on the weekends
right.
to do radio, and that's kind of like, but it's so much in between. But that's kind of like, you know, where my beginnings
Right.
came from, that
Right.
hustle and drive. Honestly, like I was the first baby born at the Veterans Hospital here in the Bronx by accident. By accident.
Wait,
So,
you have like Bronx history? Like, I was the first baby that was born. in
yes,
this po-
in a Veterans Hospital. So
Wow.
what happened was, and again, it's more to it, and you'll get it in the book.
Right.
But long story short, my mother felt that she was going into labor. So at the time, my grandmother didn't know she was pregnant with me.
Right.
She kept it a secret.
Right.
Because she already had 2 babies.
Right.
2 different baby fathers. Back then, that was not like
Right.
looked upon really.
Right.
You know,
It was frowned
it
upon,
was,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
frowned upon. So she goes and she hails a cab, and she gets in the cab, and she's going into labor, and she's like, oh, and the cab driver is so nervous, and he's like, are you having a baby in my cab? So he takes her to the first hospital, which was the Veterans Hospital.
Okay.
And so she gets out of the vehicle, and she happens to know the security person at the Veterans Hospital. They were friends in the Bronx. They knew each other. And so she goes in, and the doctor's like, well, my wife just delivered a baby. We never delivered babies here. This is a veterans hospital.
Wow.
But I can do it because my wife just had it. And he ended up delivering me, and I made the cover of the New York Daily News.
Oh my God! Do you have that cover?
I'm trying to find it
Right.
in the
gotta be
archives.
somewhere
It
in,
has to
like,
be somewhere.
microfiche.
So my mom was always like, you were born to
Right.
be in the entertainment business. But my grandmother opens up the Daily News and was like, look at this damn fool on the cover of the Daily News having another baby. And she comes to the hospital like, you freaking fool, with the cover, with the cover of the Daily News. So anyway, yes, I have a piece of Bronx history, and yes, I made the cover of the New York Daily News. And again, I'll talk more about that later on, as right now I'm in a process of, my manuscript is done, and I am in a process of shopping it for literary agents.
Right. Which we should talk about that. Because,
Yes.
I did a book in 2008,
Yes.
straight from the source, still available on Amazon. But I only really talked about a little glimpse of my earlier childhood and upbringing. It was just a little glimpse. It was really about me getting to the source and what happened when I was at the Source magazine and talking about the case. And a lot of people are familiar with me because of that. But I didn't talk about, like, when people say, oh, you wrote a memoir, I'm like, yeah, it's a memoir, but it was like a specific moment in time.
Right.
There's a whole backstory to how I got there.
Why didn't you do a part 2? That book was really good, by the way. Straight from the source. I was wondering why didn't you keep going?
Books are hard.
Books are very hard.
Books are hard. It's hard to sell, especially now in this day and age. So we got to talk more. I think,
but
we
it was
could come back to
easier.
that.
But it was easier when you first
timing.
dropped.
When I sold my book, it was on the heels of the announcement that I had won the case against the magazine, right? So I won on defamation and retaliation, and it made the news, and people know there was a very big judgment in the state of New York. I believe it's the biggest or highest judgment in the state of New York for that type of case. So I got a book deal immediately after that, and it's because it's like you got to strike when the iron is hot. And I had been prepping a book while I was at the source, like before I had even went through that and got let go and, got plastered all over the newspapers for my case. Like, I was shopping a book, but ain't nobody really trying to hear all of that because they didn't know who I was. As soon as it hit the papers, oh my God, the book price went up.
Did you make money off of it? Was it lucrative for you?
It was very lucrative for me, but it was lucrative because I had a big advance back then for someone who wasn't considered a celebrity. And then I hit the speaking circuit, and I did a lot of talks at universities, and I went around the country doing that. And I got hooked up with a speaking agent. So it's all like, it doesn't take a lot of book sales. You'd be surprised to make the New York Times bestsellers list, right? It is a different business from, I think, what we're used to, and people aren't familiar. I didn't make the list. People call it, I'm like, I don't know where, I didn't say it. I did not make the list. And my book company, although I had a lot of press around the book, my book company, I feel like they were like, Well, yeah, they wanted it, they were going off of, like, I wrote about some personal relationships in that book because they were very important to my story and what happened to me at the source. I ain't put everybody in the book and everybody on blast or every relationship that I had, but there were particular relationships, and no, I'm not going to say it because then it'll go, viral for the wrong reasons. There were relationships that I talked about, and it was, being in those relationships really jeopardized my position at the magazine. So I had to put them in there. I had to come clean. But I think the book company felt like that salacious part, and it wasn't that salacious, it just was what it was. But that salacious part was going to translate in the way that other things at the time, 2008,
because remember,
were
those, when you dropped
going
your
crazy.
book, no, I'm saying because when you dropped your book in 2008, that was when video vixens and those type of books were doing very well in the market space.
Yes, there was really one book that was a phenomenon.
That was
the Confessions of a Video Vixen, right?
Yeah,
that book changed the game, right? And that became sort of the publishing companies, their reason to go searching for that type of book. They wanted more. It was like, give us more. But there's so many different women in the industry. There's so many different representations of just what we do. But like, they were like, who'd you sleep with?
Yeah.
What did you do in this business? Oh, that's great, but who'd you sleep with? And it was like something that they wanted to really
There was another book around that
market.
time. Oh gosh, something with the reindeers game.
There were
There was
many.
a lot. There was a lot of books
Yeah.
around that time
Yep.
that did very well, but they were very salacious
Yep.
books. Speaking of books, now it seems like everybody's trying to do salacious documentaries.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
did you see that?
Oh my gosh.
The ID channel wants to do a Chris Brown. Well,
they are doing it.
releasing a Chris Brown documentary.
I saw that. I have such mixed feelings about that because, you know, I went to a Chris Brown concert over the summer, and it was the most amazing thing I had seen. Like, the most amazing concert I had seen since Beyonce. And he's on that level of performers. Like, and I love his music. I'm like a big fan.
My question is, why now? Why now?
Because-
why do a documentary now when these things have already been documented?
But it's because of what I said to you just now, the timing. Timing is everything, especially in the business when you're trying to market stuff. It's like now everybody, it's like the
But is that fair to Chris Brown,
it's
though?
not fair to him, but in this game, right, it comes with the territory. Now, I got a text from a friend of mine this morning that was like, okay, I know what Diddy did was wrong, right? And not to skip to Diddy, I know we're probably got to stay updated with what's going on with his case. But in the text message, it was like, but all of these lawsuits are, come on, where were all of these people before? And again, it's not about, you know, I don't want to say that these are frivolous lawsuits, but whenever there's a lawsuit filed, you could file a lawsuit for pretty much anything. Like, you could sue anybody for anything. You just file your suit. It's whether it's going to make it through. So, of course, when the case came out, now we're seeing, you know, or when his indictment came down, now we're seeing this, you know, barrage of
but
lawsuits against him.
You're jumping ahead with Diddy. I want to go back to Chris Brown.
I'm not trying to skip Chris Brown.
I'm trying to go back to Chris Brown.
But I'm just saying it's the point of the timing of it all. You're
thinking that this Chris Brown documentary is being released because of all the noise around Puff.
Absolutely. Around Diddy, around this quiet on the set stuff. Like, this is the time. 2024 has become the year of, like, you know, and I hate to say, you know, I don't think it was a Cat Williams thing, but it's 2024 is like, okay, everyone is coming down. Like, you know, I feel like everywhere I turn, they're trying to call somebody out. You look on the internet and you see it, right? You're like, oh, Diddy got indicted. Who's next? Jay-Z is next. Like, it's people are fishing to bring people down because of the timing of what's happening with him. So I do believe that the Diddy thing, it's like whoever was working on this Chris Brown doc, and I don't know how long they were working on it, but something happened in 2024, and all of a sudden it's like, bring it all out. Everybody, let's get them.
I'm not understanding. I am not understanding why now for the Chris Brown document. When I watched the trailer and I saw the angle, I said, but these are things that we already know about. So number one,
see another girl that I had never heard of before.
But they did bring in another girl.
Yes.
But my whole thing is, why put her in front of a camera and not put her in front of her? No, not put her in front of a police officer to file a criminal complaint.
But you don't think she did? Or maybe she tried?
I don't think she did. I don't know. I can't say that for certain. But my whole thing is, if you're going to tackle domestic abuse, then tackle domestic abuse. I guess for me, I'm frustrated with just over sensationalizing the experience that he had with Rihanna and making money and profiting off of it. But what are you doing to actually help domestic violence victims. And I said this on my radio show is my hope is for reopening this spotlight and putting this back on Chris Brown, that there is some kind of advocacy that comes with that. And how does abuse, domestic violence play out throughout someone's life? Because I've done 8 years of radio in Richmond, Virginia. Chris Brown was from Tappahannock. I've known Chris Brown for a very long time. I know his family, his mother, his aunts. You know, when the Rihanna case broke out, I was on the forefront of that case because his family members called into my radio show real time. His father went on, I want to say, what was that thing on that used to come on TV? One of those, Nancy, what's the lady's name that used to come on? Help me out. Not 60 Minutes, but like, it's one of those.
This is the trivia game I wanted to play, I feel like.
But long story short, his father went on one of those TV shows to talk about not being an abuser, and he's his stepfather. And he claimed that, you know, he never physically abused Chris Brown's mother. That sparked the city to say, you're a liar. For years, we've known that you abused his mom. You physically abused her to the point where when she tried to leave, you shot yourself in the head in front of her and you blinded yourself. Then you went on camera and you lied about it, et cetera, et cetera. So long story short, when I was reporting on him being on this TV outlet, the family called my show and I put them on the radio, which sparked Nancy Grace and Via Magazine to all write these stories about me covering this Chris Brown thing. And I'm going back to that to say that my hope is that if you're opening back up something we already know happened with him, that you're bringing some type of awareness about domestic violence to help victims and really understand how domestic violence plays out in the family when your child is witnessing in an environment where they're experiencing in real-time domestic violence, particularly as it comes to raising men, and how that violence and trauma trickles down for generations. That's my hope for like this piece, because I'm like, from the trailer that I saw, it's like you're just telling us things we already know outside of that new person. Now, how do you know that this is true? And does Chris Brown have legal action?
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I think because this really just came out, right? But I will say this for victims of domestic violence. I feel like, you know, it's a very hard system to get any justice in. And I say that from experience. And I, you know, have even thought about going back to see what I could do to serve, right? Because, you know, I went to law school. Let me plug Fordham University. I went to Fordham undergrad here in the Bronx, Rose Hill campus, and then I went to New York Law School. So I never used my law degree in my career. Right? It prepared me, and I think it helped me as a journalist, but I did not practice law. I didn't go past the bar and get a license and practice law. But when I went to law school, I wanted to do entertainment law. As I've gotten older and been through things in my life, I feel like I'm being called to do family law because of having gone through certain situations in my own marriage, right? Having seen things with my friends and having gotten a better understanding of how hard it is for women and victims of domestic violence to get justice, right? So, like, not trying to speak in code, but what's the if you know, you know? It's not easy at all. It is so traumatizing. And for me, being someone with, you know, who prides herself on having like this background and like, oh, I got this law degree, it is so hard to go through that system for a victim to actually get help. I do think that when the media shines a light on these situations, it changes the game. So whether it's a documentary on Chris Brown, and hey, I am, my heart goes out to anyone who has to become the scapegoat for this, right? Because he's probably dealing with his own things. If this stuff is true, we do know the situation with Rihanna was true, right? Because he admitted to it and he apologized. And I really respect the fact that he apologized and spoke about it. I've had this conversation and debate a lot with people because they're like, how could you listen to Chris Brown? I'm like, I love his music, right? He took accountability very young. Mm-hmm. He did. And he dealt with, probably the worst point of his career at a very young age. So, and he's come out of that. Now, I can't really speak to whether or not these other situations are true because I don't have the background to know that. But I feel like that being the example, because he is such a big artist, this documentary coming out, whether or not the timing is because of everything else around it, I feel like it's for a reason. And it takes that for, the greater purpose to actually, come to something. Like I'm trying to say that sometimes, right, we need these type of things to change our laws, to change, people's behaviors. Like, unfortunately, we're in this era where people idolize celebrities. And people don't pay attention to domestic violence situations, if it's just Joe Schmo and his girl or somebody from the Bronx. So hopefully this documentary will help open the eyes to, the audience who is watching and maybe just too busy like debating back and forth. Did he do this or did he do that? But I think that's also going to come. Right. But I think that is... We have to wait to see how it's produced to say whether or not that would happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because for me, like I said, my hope is that they shed some light on it. When is it coming out?
It's soon. Like
yeah, because it's just kind of like, boom, it hit the wire, and I was like, oh, where did this come from? I didn't even hear about it. I hear about things.
Domestic violence, like when I spoke a little bit earlier about my environment, like the environment that I was in was such a trauma-filled environment where I saw abuse just firsthand from all aspects, physical, sexual, like it was so bad. And so when I see things like this, I'm like, okay, what type of advocacy or what type of message or help are you going to do with this?
Right.
Or is this just a ploy to get subscriptions?
Right.
Or
and I do see the other side. I do see the other side of it. So like,
I mean, because you're a TV producer. You
yeah,
know
so
how
I
this
get
works.
it. And I know that a lot of times, you could be working on something like this for years and then something will happen in the media.
Like, you got to get it out.
And now you sell it. All of a sudden, the price goes up. I just talked about that with my book. I was trying to sell that book for a couple years. I have found like old stuff that I wrote. I was like, oh wow, this was like 2 years before my case even happened. And then it happened and boom, it like green light, publishing companies, bidding, giving me 6 figures. It just was the right time. Yeah. And so I don't know, with this Chris Brown thing, I think it's tough. It's tough. I want to watch it, right? Like look at what they did with the Surviving R. Kelly docs that were on
and
Lifetime.
Now his daughter is speaking out.
Right. Like that's but before that, right? It was not that it was okay, but I mean, so it was like nobody was doing anything before that documentary.
So now this law firm is representing all of these victims in Diddy's case.
Yes.
And that's interesting to see.
Yes.
According to the reports, this particular law firm has over 50 clients who are now, I guess, wanting to file, would you call that a class action lawsuit against them?
Are they? I didn't see that part.
No, I'm asking you. So when people come together like that, is that a class action lawsuit? Like, how does that work?
It's so funny. I'm like, I went to law school. I'm like, I don't know. How does that work? I'm like, did you skip that class, girl? It was a long time ago. I don't know if they could do a class action lawsuit like that. Like, I don't know if it's reserved for certain types of cases, right? And we're talking, well, I guess that would be a civil case. But,
Right?
yeah, interesting. I don't know. Let's come back to that. Let's come back to that next time. But I don't know how many victims she's representing. I saw the lawyer did an interview, right? I forgot where I saw the interview where she was talking about.
CNN.
Was it CNN?
I think it was CNN when she said that a prominent person was in the
Yes.
video.
Yes.
But she
that they
didn't
were selling
see
the video.
Right, but she said that she did not see the video. She just saw the
Stills of the video. I caught
shots
that.
of the video.
I caught that. She said the stills.
And I'm
And
like,
so I'm like, And I know, I caught that. I was like, wait. She said because they asked her that.
You got to have a journalistic
Yes, and I was like,
understanding
wait,
to know, like,
she didn't see the video.
You didn't see the video.
You didn't see the video. So then it was like stills of this high profile person. Then you don't name the person, which maybe there's reason for that. Of course, like the internet is a funny thing. Like I'm just caught up like watching all of these things that are, being put out there. Like these are the people that's on all the tapes. The Diddy tapes, who's on the tapes? And then everybody's stepping down from their job. Every single exec in the music industry is like stepping down. People are getting fired.
That had nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with Diddy.
Well, I don't know.
That had nothing to do. Let's skip over that.
Okay, we can skip over that, but I want to say something about that. And I think that, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys, but I went down the Jaguar Wright rabbit hole today. I had to go down. I went all the way down. And I was watching these videos. They're very entertaining. Right? But why aren't more people talking about what she's saying? Now, hold on. I know this is controversial, right? Damon Dash did an interview with The Art of Dialogue. And he said something that made me go, He said, if Jaguar Wright is so wrong, and he wasn't justifying, I'm paraphrasing what he said. He wasn't justifying all the things that she says, because we know that she said a lot of things. But he said, why aren't these high-profile celebrities suing her for defamation? And I thought about that, like, what is she saying? So that's why I went down the rabbit hole, because I started to look at, is she watching her words carefully and how she's sensationalizing this stuff?
What are they going to go after her for? She has nothing.
Well, you defamation, because, look, I went through a defamation case.
But I'm saying, I'm going to waste my attorney fees on Jaguar Wright?
If I'm a high-profile celebrity, absolutely. Look at how Cardi B went after Tasha K.
But that was extreme. And Tasha K is making money, substantial amount of money off that YouTube channel.
Either Jaguar Wright, they're saying she's crazy, but I'm now somewhere between either she's crazy or she's a genius, because on a certain platform, right, she's doing all of this stuff on different platforms, or maybe she's had her own platform. My daughter asked me who she was the other day. She was like, Mom, who's Jaguar Wright? And I'm like, how do you know that name? Because it has gone so far outside of this sort of insular community, right? That is like, oh, she's just saying all this crazy stuff on the internet to go viral. But my daughter was asking about her. So maybe, I don't know, like, what is the purpose of doing these type of videos? Sometimes men do that crazy stuff and they get like kind of put on a pedestal, like, oh, listen to this conspiracy theory. I'm not corroborating the things that she said. I haven't seen all of the stuff that's been online.
But don't make that a men versus woman issue, though, Cam. No.
A woman is real crazy real quick.
No.
And
don't make Jaguar Wright the poster card for that. Don't do that, Kim. Don't do that, Kim.
I gotta go down this rabbit hole and see, because now I need to know.
I'm not going down with you.
I need to know, is what she's saying defamatory to these high-profile celebs? And if so, why aren't they suing her? I just want to know. Because
I mean,
when you're a celebrity, your business is your branding.
But if I am if I am a high-profile celebrity that's not even in that world, why am I wasting my attorney fees on that? Like, who cares what that
They
person
waste
said?
a lot of people care because it's going a lot of places. It's very viral. It's going a lot of places.
Well, we'll see
We're gonna
how.
stick a pin in that.
Yeah, we'll see
And
how that
I am
plays
going
out.
to really do
Go
my
down that
homework.
rabbit
I'm
hole.
gonna go down that rabbit hole, not just because it was entertaining, because it was entertaining, but because now I want to know. Like,
I don't have that much time in the day to go down that
Listen.
rabbit hole.
I will go down the rabbit hole for you. And speaking of indictments,
Eric Adams.
What's up with your? I live in New Jersey. Oh, did I just put that on blast? I live in New Jersey. I moved out. What's up with your mayor?
It's
What
so
happened?
crazy. It's so crazy.
What happened though?
It's like, it's so crazy. Whenever you put a cop and give a cop some political power, don't expect good things to come from that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my
when you put an NYC or NYPD, you put an NYPD in power. Man, listen, it's ironic how like.
Do you think he's being targeted? Do you think all politicians have a little bit of like, corrupt in them? Corruptness, corruption. Like,
just do the right thing with
Oh,
your power.
a lot-
I can't say whether or not they all do. You know what I mean? I'm just saying when you are put in those positions, man, just do the right thing. He is saying that he's being targeted. I saw his press conference.
Yes, he had that press statement ready. It was ready. As soon as he was indicted, it was like, hello. He
you
was
doing?
ready.
I'm here.
Right. Like, listen, I gotta really dig into that as well because obviously over the years
Man.
people have said things and this is politics. This is what happens. You giving out the key to the city.
You at parties, you hanging
It's a
out.
lot. It was a lot. It was a little bit much.
Hanging
I
out
think.
with the rappers.
It was a
and-
little bit much. And now we see, you gotta be careful. First of all, when you're in such a big position of power, and I think the key to the Diddy key to the city was
But they
like
were saying he was doing the corruption from when he was the Brooklyn borough president. That indictment went back to when he was in office, in the Brooklyn office. So that indictment was 100+ pages.
shout out to the politicians in the Bronx. Listen,
I'm just saying.
stay clean.
I'm just
You know,
saying, like, and one thing
Scale your
about
hotel rooms down.
But
you
one
know what I
thing
mean?
about the
don't have
feds-
to have the big suite. You don't.
But
Just
one thing about the feds
serve the
that we
community.
know is that they will continue to let you hang yourself and do the crimes till they pile it up
They're
on
watching.
you.
The
Yeah.
streets is watching.
It's just interesting because I'm just like, you were given such a huge opportunity. And
Yeah.
this is how you going out. You're like
Yeah.
the first sitting mayor to be indicted.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy.
He says he's not guilty, though. We'll see how the court system handles him. He
We
got
will.
a bail, though.
You say he got a bail?
He got a bail. He didn't have to sit in jail.
Well, right. Do you think he knew it was coming?
He said
absolutely.
he knew it was coming.
Okay.
They started, but think about all the people that had resigned. His
Yes.
the
Yes.
chief commissioner,
Yes.
the New York City chancellor. All these people had resigned, and he knew the indictment was coming.
Yeah.
So, of course, they went and they took the computers and the cell phone and all of these things.
20 and there you have it. 2024.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2024. 2024.
I don't want no parts of no
Listen.
crimes. Leave me out
It's
of
been
it.
a year. It's been a year. I mean, the Diddy thing in and of itself is like,
Yo, can you
Still-
imagine if Mayor Eric Adams had to go to sit in Brooklyn where Diddy's at?
it's not funny. Wait, none of this
Yo,
is
my
funny.
man, you took my key
None
to
of
the
this is
city
funny.
away from me. You sitting
Right,
right here
and
next
you-
to me.
none of this is
that's
funny.
wild. Could you
The whole
imagine?
thing is wild.
If he had to go sit next to Diddy in that cell in Brooklyn,
That's
that
not funny.
conversation, my man, you
Serious
took
topic.
my key away. And you You out here committing crimes? Your damn self?
2024 has been nuts. And speaking of bail, Diddy's legal team, he just upped his legal team, and they just put in another appeal, right, for a bail hearing. Yeah.
When?
I
Today?
think that happened in the last 24 to 48 hours.
I could see that.
Yeah, he's not trying to sit in there.
I could see that.
He is
I could see him pushing for that bail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They want to
get him out because I don't think it would be in his best interest to have a speedy trial.
Right, so he's probably going to,
Yeah, so he probably got with his team and they were like, you know what? We need a little bit more time to get our case together. Because remember, the lawyer he has now was not the lawyer he had in the very beginning.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So this is a new lawyer. So this
Right.
lawyer has to get up to speed. This lawyer has to hire their own investigators, build their strategy. You could sit in jail for a long time before that happens. So a speedy trial may not be in the best interest of his client.
I know.
So the next best thing is to try to get him out on bail and get an appeal.
They're trying. He's going to keep appealing that. They do not want to let him out. They are like, no.
You know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, and like I said before, like, do the right thing, when you in these positions, man, because when you let your ego, when you're led by ego, you continue to do the same thing over and over. Like if I was like in his inner circle, I would have been like, no drugs, no sex, no weapons, no this.
You would have been like, no
we
sex?
got too much to lose.
You would have been like, no sex?
I mean, no sex to that degree. You know what I mean? When we're breaking...
No extramarital affairs.
No, when we're being illegal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you have too much to lose.
Yeah.
You have too much to lose.
Yes, a lot.
Not only is it a lot for you to lose, but think about all the people that you're feeding.
Yes. It is October.
It's a lot.
This year... I'm kind of waiting for 2025 because I'm like, what? This is heavy this year.
This year has been weird.
It has been very weird. I think a lot of people that I know got let go from their jobs recently in entertainment.
Not just the entertainment,
networks,
across the board, people have been losing their jobs because I don't think people understand the catastrophic effects of the pandemic. And yes, we are recuperating at a faster and better rate than anybody in the world because if you really look at the entire world economy, we're actually doing a lot better than other countries are.
Right.
But the pandemic was a very rough thing that has happened to the economy, and these are a lot of the impact of that, the inflation and all of this stuff, and now the people that do the cargo that ship the products, I forgot what they're called, but now they're going on strike. So it's like, it's a mess. It's a mess right now. So what happens when things get so crazy? It's time for you to be still.
Yeah.
That's when you exercise patience.
Yeah.
And you listen and you meditate and you be still and you ask for guidance.
And
Whenever
that
go into
happens,
your higher power.
Yeah.
For me, that's at least what I do. I sit still when it's such chaoticness and noise, and I just try to stay centered and focus on my higher self.
TT's meditation practices.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I feel like that is, it's good advice. I think a lot of people are going through tough times. I feel like, there's this, particularly for me in television, right, with streaming taking over. I work primarily in cable TV, so the industry is really upside down.
Even on the streaming side, though.
Yeah.
Paramount Plus did all of those layoffs.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So
a lot
it's
of people that
they're
I know.
not even monetizing the content that they think that they could create. Even when you look at Disney too, right? Disney Plus. They're cracking down on passcode sharing and all this stuff because they have not cracked the code on how to monetize the content. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard game.
Yeah.
So you think about the dollars that they spent into creating all of this versus what they're getting back on their return. It's tough. So there, TV as we know it, streaming as we know it, music industry as we know it, the radio industry as we know it for sure.
Right.
Is changing.
Yeah, it is.
So that's why, like, it's a good time to, like, hit a pause and a reset. Like, that's why I love the fact that you mentioned your law degree, because this is a good time for you to go back
Thank
and
you.
really practice that law.
Thank you. I said recently, I was like, are you going to have to go be a lawyer?
What's wrong with that, though?
No.
I can
listen,
totally
you can
see you
right?
doing that. I can totally see you doing that.
Well, judging by like what we're seeing from people in positions of powers and the things that they're doing, like I know now, I'm like, okay, you got to step up because you have to, can a few good folks step up? I feel like we got to start doing more service. I think you touched on that in the beginning. I feel like this, again, I opened up by saying just being here in the Bronx, it was our, sort of like this, I don't know, like this feeling of purpose that I got. And that's important. I feel like this is good for my soul. This conversation is good for my soul.
It's time to sit, hit a reset,
right,
think
and
about
figure this out.
What your purpose is, and really focus on that. As crazy as the times we're in such a crazy political time as well.
Yes, election coming up.
Yeah,
I think we should talk about that the next time we're here together. Like, we need to talk about this election, especially because the debate is tonight. So I want to.
Oh yeah, debate
I want to
tonight.
watch the vice presidential debate. But I mean, in closing, I will say, right, that this has been therapeutic for me. I feel like, I really do. So with that being said, make sure you follow me on socials. You always got to do stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Kim Osorio 1 on Instagram, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Kim Osorio Media, Osorio. There's no A's in my name. And like, comment, do all of that good stuff. TT
Torrez, 3 T's, ORREZ. And make sure you catch our latest episode of Trigger Warning wherever you stream your podcast. We are available. So subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today on this episode of Trigger Warning in a new location.
In a new location, Bronx, BX.
All right.
So
thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right.
This is it. We're out. Bye.
We out, right?
My name is Gary Parker. I served as a cavalry scout and a military policeman in the United States Army for 20 years. When I was a cavalry scout, we had a young lieutenant that came in, great guy, but he moved on, got promoted to lieutenant colonel, went on to Afghanistan, and I was able to keep in contact. And I'd wake up one morning, go on social media, and there's that post you don't want to see. For whatever reason, he took his own life. Nobody knows why he did it. And if there's something that we could have done to prevent it from happening, safe gun storage can prevent gun suicide, because it's that added step to get to your firearm that might just give somebody a moment of reflection on what they're doing. As a veteran, we need to be ambassadors to people that don't have the knowledge that we have. Anytime you're not storing a weapon safely, you're putting yourself and your community at risk. Service never stops.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.